Welcome to One Block Brunch, the series where I show you how to make tasty, satisfying brunch for 4 people with only 1 block of tofu. Today, we're doing a spin on everyone's favorite Taco Bell order. I call it the Brunch Wrap Supreme. Now, we won't be straying too far from source material because it's pretty hard to improve upon perfection. But I do have a few key upgrades. We'll be swapping out that boring sour cream for a Chipotle lime aioli, and we'll be dumping those basic chopped tomatoes for a fresh, delicious Pico de Gallo. I've even got a couple tips to show you how to make even better pico. We get started with 1 block of firm tofu, and we need to trim off about 1/5 or 75 grams. Set aside that large piece. We'll be using that small piece as a base for our Chipotle lime aioli. To a tall-sided container, we'll add 75 grams of our tofu, along with 10 grams or 1 Chipotle in adobo, and the juice of half a lime. And this is one juicy bit. So, if you're not using freshly squeezed lime juice, which you should be, about 30 grams or 2 tablespoons. Then, 2 grams or a half teaspoon each of garpao, paprika, along with 3 grams or a half teaspoon of salt. A few cranks of fresh cracked black, and 60 grams or a 1/4 cup of water. Whiz that up using an immersion blender, then slowly stream in 55 grams or a 1/4 cup of oil. Give it a taste, adjust the seasoning as needed, but this tastes pretty dope. So we'll transfer it to a squeeze bottle and stick it in the fridge for later. Now, if you're in a hurry, you could just use basic chopped tomatoes. So technically, the Pico de Gallo is optional, but highly recommended. And I've got 2 tips to help you make better pico. Tip number 1, EXSICCATE your tomatoes. That is just an overly fancy way of saying to dry out or draw out moisture. We do that by adding 3 grams or a half teaspoon of both salt and sugar to our chopped tomatoes. We'll set that aside for about 15 minutes. Tip number 2, marinate your onions. I've got 60 grams or about a 1/4 cup of finely chopped red onion here, and to that, I'm gonna squeeze the juice of 1 lime, about 30 mils or 2 tablespoons. Now we'll just set that aside along with the tomatoes to marinate. This step will remove some of that harsh spiciness that raw onion has. After about 15 minutes, drain your Toms and check out all of that water. More than enough to sog up your wrap, that is for sure. As you can see, our onions have become pink and translucent. They're almost slightly pickled. To finish off our pico, we will add 10 grams or 2 tablespoons of chopped cilantro and optionally 1 clove of finely minced breath freshener. If you want to skip the garlic for breakfast, you go ahead, but I love it. So, you do you. Both the sauce and pico can be done well ahead of time, a few hours or even a day or 2. But I'm hungry now. So let's crank out our main component, our Tofu Scramble. We get started with a hot pan. 100 grams or about 2 cups of diced mushrooms, and then add a splash of water, maybe 2 to 3 tablespoons. Let that cook for a minute or 2 until the mushrooms are done weeping out all of their moisture and the pan goes totally dry. Add a splash of oil and go in with 120 grams or about 3/4 cups of chopped onion. I'm using the rest of the red onion left over from the pico. Add a hefty pinch of salt and a few cranks of pep. Cook this for about 3 to 5 minutes and then go in with a few shakes of turmeric. Then crumble in the rest of your block of tofu. Cook for another 2 to 3 minutes until the pan goes dry and the tofu is taking on some slight browning. Kill the heat and add in 30 grams or a 1/4 cup of your favorite plant-based cheese. Finally, we build. I've got these monster 12-inch tortillas. Just warm those up and go down with a portion of your scramble, a generous squeeze of our Chipotle sauce, a tostada, some thinly sliced iceberg lettuce, our pico, and another generous squeezer of our sauce. Then fold this guy up like so. If you're using smaller tortillas, you may need to add one at the bottom here to fill the void. In a hot pan, carefully add this guy seam side down and cook for 1 to 2 minutes per side until golden and crispy. And that's it. Everything you love about a crunch wrap, but for brunch. This isn't much a formula for a great brunch as it is a recipe. Don't like mushrooms? Use zucchini instead. Don't have iceberg lettuce? Use arugula, spinach. This idea is infinitely customizable to suit your tastes. And this idea is as fun as it is delicious, but let's say you want something a little fancier. You know, your mother-in-law is coming over for brunch or some such. Well, make sure you subscribe because next week I'll be giving you my vegan frittata, perfect for ladies who brunch. Thanks for coming and and I'll see you next time.